Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Earn It Podcast. Today, if you're planning to become an NP, CRNA, CNM, CNS, or pursue a DNP or some kind of MSN, the biggest change to graduate nursing education in decades is happening right now. I'm going to explain exactly what this means for you and what to do about it, kind of both sides of the argument, and break down some of the hot takes. All right, so what exactly happened here? I'm just going to give a couple of brief explanations first and foremost. Obviously, the nursing graduate programs have lost professional degree status, along with a lot of other ones. But, this is a nursing school podcast, and we care about all things nursing. So that's why I'm going over this today. So this basically affects affordability and access. That's kind of why a lot of people are outraged right now. I'm going to go into the nitty gritty of it, and I have kind of a hot take of this, and I have some insight into things that will maybe give some of you that are looking forward to furthering your education maybe some hope. Okay, so let's get started. What exactly is this? Okay. So there was something passed, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, that restructured graduate loans. So specifically for us, we're looking at MSN, DNP, CRNA, and NP tracks. Now, this also affects things like PAs, and I believe physical therapy, occupational therapy, and education. Okay, you have lost professional degree status. No longer recognized as a professional degree. And a lot of people are really quick to get kind of angry at this because it's like, wait a second, are you saying that we're not professionals? That's not actually the case. It's not like somebody is saying, hey, I just want all of you master's nursing folks to know that you're no longer considered professional. Unfortunately, that's kind of the naming convention that was used in the act. But again, we have a lot of stuff to go over. So what does this mean exactly? That means that the lifetime federal loan cap is $100,000 for graduate students, and the Grad Plus loans have been eliminated. What exactly this means is if you're going for a quote-unquote professional degree, MD, DO, DDS, JD, PharmD, these you can get $200,000 dollars for these degrees, and there's an annual cap. Right, so from about $20,000 a year to $40,000 a year or so is kind of the difference, right? When does this take effect? So it's not currently in effect right now, but I mean, basically, okay? Students enrolling in fall 2026 and later will be under this new systems because the changes begin on July 1st of 2026. Students that are already enrolled may receive some kind of mixed treatment depending on the disbursement. But if you're listening to this, especially if you're listening to this around the time that I'm publishing this, you're probably a BSN or ADN nursing student. So unfortunately, unless something changes between now and the time that you're ready to get your professional degree, you're going to be, it kind of depends, right? There's hope that I want to kind of go over. Now, why exactly did this happen? I don't really hear too many people talking about why. I may not agree 100% with what has happened the way that it has happened, but you're not listening to this for my opinion, although you're going to get some of it, okay? The argument is that, one, the professional degree status has to be narrowly defined, okay? In other words, you can't just say any master's degree is professional. You do have to define this. Loan caps will discourage institutions from inflating tuition. Okay. And then rising graduate school debt poses a long-term repayment risk. Again, I don't know how exactly they came to get rid of a lot of the nursing degrees as far as, especially, CRNA, ARNP, DNP. I can kind of see certain MSN programs and why you might have taken those away. But, you know, maybe we can get into some of those statistics later. I do have tuition inflation statistics, and they are extraordinarily troubling. But again, we're almost there. So a lot of people that are upset argue a few different things, right? That nursing meets a professional criteria by licensure, okay? By clinical standards, by critical workforce importance, right? It's very important for their workforce. Right now, there's a shortage, especially for nurse practitioners, and this decision completely ignores the shortage of providers that, this country needs, and disproportionately affects first generation, low income, rural nursing students. So again, again, yes and no, right? So let's look at the cost. I'm going to explain to you the cost, okay? Over the past 20 years, inflation adjusted, now this is adjusted for inflation, has seen a 90% increase in the last 20 years, adjusted for inflation. Okay? So, 2005, okay, we're at $19,480 per year annual average. 2015, it went up to $27,000, and currently the national average sits at $36,900 per year, okay? That's a 90% increase adjusted for inflation. This is what gave policymakers kind of their what they call justification for doing this. Because right now, for associate's degrees, for bachelor's degrees, these are already very limited. And you don't get any special treatment for any specific bachelor's degree. So this was their way of kind of leveling the playing field as well. Because again, there are plenty of places and plenty of degrees where to get a bachelor's degree, it is unaffordable even with maximum amount of student loans. Okay, because there are two sides of it. There are one capped, like a lifetime cap, and then there's a yearly cap that you get into. There are plenty of schools out there and plenty of programs that are above all of those caps, even for associate's degrees, okay? And students cannot go there and take those programs without private student loans or without paying a bunch of money. So right now, this is currently already happening. I'm going to bring that up to kind of comfort everybody, is that this kind of issue is already happening with associate's and bachelor's degrees. That's why a lot more folks are going to more affordable community college options, especially for things like nursing, instead of taking like a private school route where you're paying like 20 times the amount for the same degree and to get to the same place. Okay. So again, lifetime borrowing capped at $100,000. A lot of programs very clearly exceed this. Okay. Higher interest. There's no income driven repayment anymore. There's no federal forgiveness pathways. The things that are most affected are CRNAs, DNP, and MSN-NP programs. Now, inequity concerns, I'm not going to get into that. I don't do equity. This isn't a political podcast, but equity it's just a bunch of hogwash. It's just a bunch of bullshit. If you make it through, we're talking about professional degrees. So if you get through and get your ADN, you're working in nursing, you get your BSN, you are a nurse just like all the other nurses are. If you go to Yale's freaking nursing program versus you go to a local community college, you both end up working at the same hospital. You both make the same amount of money. Okay. So after we get there, equity no longer should matter. You're all making good money. Nobody gets into nursing thinking, oh, well, I just really want to be a nurse. I know I won't be able to afford my bills, right? Nursing is notoriously a high-paying career. So that's why I think the inequity concerns are bullshit, and I'm going to stand behind that. I don't care how much flack I get now or in the future for it, okay? Cry me a river about your equity bullshit, okay? Moving on to the main issue, though. Is this going to decrease, they think, oh, this is going to decrease tuition costs. Again, a 90% increase over the last 20 years is alarming, but this has happened across the board for associate's degrees, for nursing, or for bachelor's degrees, not just in nursing, but everywhere. And here's the thing. As soon as student loans started being given to literally everyone by the federal government with very high caps, without any kind of screening process or behind any analysis done on what your degree might make you, i.e., what your degree might enable you to contribute to society / repay your loans in the future, tuition costs have absolutely blown up. Okay? To couple that, we have a lot more online programs. This is where I'm going to get into trouble with even my nursing people. You have DNP programs, and oh my God, plenty of MSN programs in leadership, in education, right, in community health, that are all currently being delivered. Like, there's a large amount of them being delivered online. Now, online is great. Online is wonderful. But you have plenty of NPs. For instance, I'm going to pick on the NPs because what I'll say is it's not that they're no less professional than anything else. It's that the schools are very much a culprit here. Because all of these kind of programs, before they were online, you used to go in for lecture, right? You go in, you get your hands on, you're in person, you're paying multiple different professionals to come in and teach you in person, hands-on skills, yada, yada. Right now, you have a lot of these programs that basically essentially tell you this. You have this book to read for this class, these chapters this week, these chapters that week, and then I'm going to test you on the chapters that you read. And then you're going to go to clinical hours, of which, by the way, we're not paying anybody to provide you that preceptorship. And if in the case that you have to pick it yourself, sometimes that nurse practitioner student is on the hook to pay that person for precepting them, okay? So the school is not paying, or it has nothing to do with your clinical hours, isn't the one teaching you those hands-on skills and teaching you that clinical judgment in real time on real patients. They're simply providing the credential for you. They're providing the structure for you because they got accredited, and they're telling you what to read, and then they're having you regurgitate it out during tests. There's not any real interaction going on between instructors, and this is especially true for MSN programs that aren't going the clinical route, where you don't even have clinical requirements or any in-person anything requirements. If I'm paying $30,000 a year to go through online modules, this is the problem of the school and the school system as a whole. This goes for not just professional master's degree, doctorate programs. This also, goes for associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. Again, I've had an episode where I talked pretty mad shit on BSN programs, the fully online, the bridge ones, RN to BSN programs. You're charging people upwards of $16,000 to $30,000+ a year to go through a bunch of online modules and write a bunch of shit and have somebody give feedback on, of which, as a previous teacher, you give me a 10-page paper, I can grade that in like 20 minutes for you, okay, with plenty of feedback on it, especially if I use voice to text, which comes built in to both Apple and Windows systems, okay? You don't even have to hand type this stuff anymore. And you can use different free, by the way, completely free browser extensions where you have like dot phrases, kind of like an Epic or whatever. You do like a / this, and it fills out. It has a huge template for you already filled out. So there's all kinds of ways. Bottom line is, now knowing that those things exist, I can grade a 10-page paper in less than 10 minutes. Guarantee you. I don't care what subject it is. I can grade it. Okay, as long as I have wherewithal on it. So you're paying a bunch of people to grade a bunch of stuff, paying them not even that much money in a lot of these cases. So all of the money is going to the schools, and the schools, again, have continued to inflate and inflate and inflate, and then have the audacity to deliver a fucking online only program and tell you you're on your own to work out clinicals. Okay? That is what kind of pissed these policymakers off, because this started for a good thing. Okay? Now everybody can go to school. But now you're paying somebody to maybe go to a 2-year program that costs like $60,000, and they're getting a degree in eyelash theory. Okay? Now, a DNP is not like a degree in gender studies or sociology. There are, obviously, as a practitioner, or even as an educator, there is a great deal of professionalism here. Again, that's why I said I think that it's poor to choose it as no longer a professional degree, okay? And I think that the economic impact of these degrees were not properly looked at. And I think if you're going to take an approach where you're going to take away and give status, okay, we'll give you this much loans for this degree, but only this many for another. That needs to be based not on the letters, but that also needs to be based on a lot of different factors, like how much we need those people, how much are they going to make, looking at all of them and say, oh, what is the percentage of people that default on their loans with this degree? Okay, that is what they are supposedly caring about, and that's why it's an issue. But obviously people are ticked off. So here's the hope that I kind of have for you. Okay, there's a few things that you can do right now. Okay, apply before July 2026 if possible for a master's program. For a lot of people, that's not going to work. Employer tuition reimbursement programs. There are hospital-linked loan repayment contracts. There are scholarships specifically for APRN or nurse practitioner specialties. And then again, there are programs that are near or very much under that $100,000 cap. And what's going to happen is, see, this is what you have. Whenever you take away some kind of third party, whenever you take away some kind of risk from one party, okay, like insurance, for instance, there's a lot of different theory to say if the healthcare industry in general, if you took insurance out of the equation and people had to pay out of pocket for everything, it would be amazing how much less expensive things would be, okay? The same goes for school, definitely. It's a marketplace, just like anything else in a capitalist society. If you now say that, hey, everybody's on the hook for this much, two things will happen. One of two things will happen. You're not going to deal with, maybe initially, but you're not going to long-term have just a lot less of these people going and getting these degrees. That's not what's going to happen. You know why that's not going to happen? Because if that many less people could go and get these degrees, all of these schools are going to miss out on all of that revenue, and that is simply not going to happen. Schools aren't stupid. If you're charging, okay, $40,000 a year for a nurse practitioner program, and now suddenly student loans will pay a maximum of $20,000, they would be stupid to keep that at $40,000 a year, wouldn't they? Okay, because here's the thing, especially in an online one, okay, that money is just going to some black hole somewhere. It's going into everybody's pockets further at the top, or they're hiring further administrative staff that do probably close to nothing. That is probably going to be outsourced by AI very soon anyways. And you're going to have a free marketplace again with schools in that regard. And eventually, let me just warn you, it's coming for all of the other student loans too. You think that it's going to stop here? I hope that something like this happens for undergraduate degrees, because the amount that schools think that they're charging for really crappy education sometimes needs to be fixed somehow. The schools need to be on the hook for this. And the only way to make schools on the hook for it right now is we're going to limit the amount that you can take out in student loans. I promise you it's a supply and a demand problem. So this might sound really troubling right now. It might sound really alarming right now. But there are adjustments that are going to happen, and they are going to happen fairly quickly. Otherwise, all of these schools will simply go out of business and they won't be having that shit. I can tell you that right now. Some will be stubborn. Some will cater to the rich, the people with a bunch of money, the people that don't mind taking out private student loans and have a bunch in their bank account. Sure, that will still exist, but that has always existed and that always will exist, right? Most of us fly economy, some people fly first class, and some people rent private jets. Those tiers will continue to exist in education, but there's going to be a shift. And the reason why this is going to happen is because currently there are places for students to go with these new requirements right now. There are plenty of schools out there. It may not be the majority, right? The average is $36,000 a year for these programs. However, there are ones that are purposely making themselves affordable. Why? Because they're like, hey, we're giving all these classes online. We're basically just telling you stuff to read and giving you these little tests every now and then. We're not giving you any real value other than a credential, okay? This goes for all online programs. So you have a choice. You can either be like, all right, let's keep upping the ante and charging more money for this, even though we're not really spending that much money. Let's just make more profit. Or some schools have chosen to keep their costs low, and that's the reason why they're structuring their programs like that. I won't name them by name because probably by the end of the next month or by the time July 2026 comes around, that list is going to be vastly different because of these requirements. Okay. So, again, if you think about it for 10 seconds and stop with the initial being pissed off about it, okay, you have to think about that things have to adjust because people aren't going to lose their businesses. Schools are not going to lose that new building they planned on. Those CEOs and CFOs that are in charge of these schools are not going to lose that 6-week vacation they had planned to Barbados. It's just not going to happen, dude. It's just not going to happen as frequently for them, right? But what's going to happen, and the reason why this is going to happen is because all of the different schools that do offer this less expensive alternative, students are going to flock there. And the other schools are going to be like, oh my God, we're losing all of our students to these cheaper, schools. And prices have to drop. So unfortunately, even though I don't agree with the way things went, and I don't agree with all the reasoning, and I myself think that it was a little bit foolish the way that things happened, I have to agree that things will be changing because of this. Tuition costs will go down. The only reason they were approaching $20,000 is because students could take out loans to do it. Nobody's paying $20,000 a year out of pocket to go to school. When we had that, we had an immense amount of poverty and a very small percentage of the population being able to go to college. Now we've pushed it the other direction and people are spending their whole life getting a degree in art history and then not realizing until they're out of school, like, what the hell was I thinking, right? It's the same thing, except now there's been something that's done about it and schools are going to have to just change it. So schools are going to be changing or they're going to be gone. Okay. So put your hope in that. And especially if you're an ADN program, if you're a BSN student and you need some experience in the field anyway, here's the thing, guys. You have plenty of time for things to change. The more time that goes on for you, the more things will change for you. And also, this is being pushed for reconsideration. ANA, AACN, AANP, and AANA are pushing for reconsideration, arguing that nursing needs to be restored as a professional degree. There need to be higher borrowing limits for AAPRN education and federal support tied to work shortages. Now, this last one, does provide, federal support tied to workforce shortages, okay? Again, do I think it needs to be a professional degree? I currently do, but maybe I'm biased because I'm a nursing student. Okay? So AANA, AACN, AANP, and AANA. So let's look at these. ANA, American Nurses Association, largest professional organization representing all registered nurses in the United States. Okay, making sense. AACN, American Association of Colleges of Nursing. Nobody should give a shit what these people are saying. Okay? I just have to say it. Okay? Nobody should care. That's the one that should be thrown out of the list, and nobody should care. Nobody should care about what those people say. It's kind of like if the government said that, frying chicken is bad for you, and there will be a tax on fried chicken as opposed to baked chicken, right? And then Tyson saying, actually, I would like you to reconsider, right? Or Chick-fil-A saying, I'd like you to reconsider. Popeyes and KFC saying, I'd like you to reconsider. Okay? Very biased there. The other ones I kind of understand. Okay? So again, it's becoming harder to afford anyways. So there's a few things that will happen. Either this is going to be reconsidered. If it is reconsidered, folks, at the same time, that would be a victory. Unfortunately, it would also mean that tuition rates will continue to go up for you. Another reason, folks, is that, okay, right now, let's say you get out of school, you make $120,000 as a nurse practitioner. But let's say in order to get that degree, you paid around $90,000 to get that degree for your DNP. Or let's say 60. Hell, let's say 60. If schools get less expensive, you're going to graduate making that $120,000 a year, but instead of having $60,000 in student loans, you might have $40,000 in student loans. Okay? That is a large number. Okay? That's hundreds of dollars a month for years of your time. So really, everyone should be, even if this gets reconsidered, what I think all of us should do, especially in this field that are, where we're needed so much, is we need to really come up with some kind of way to where we have a voice and we have some kind of say, we have some kind of pull in getting these schools to stop financially taking advantage of us, because they're the only place that we can get the credential to do the jobs that we want. And they're holding that hostage behind an extraordinarily large amount of money. And the only reason why any of us are willing to go through with it is because we have loans that are initially paying for it, and we're not really, truly thinking about how much those loans will cost. Okay. So look, it just became harder to afford for now. But have some hope that things will change. Okay. Please go ahead. If you like this episode, follow. I will be watching this very closely. This whole situation will be updating as things change in real time. I'm going to set up some things where I know the second that anything changes, and I'll let everybody know in layman's terms kind of what's going on. So please, subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment. There's also a link in the description of this podcast episode if you'd like to be on to talk about this issue or other issues. Please go ahead and do that. I'm looking for guests right now, students, teachers, potential nursing students, everybody. Or if you want to come on and give your thoughts about this situation. A lot of you might kind of disagree with it, might be a little bit more pessimistic about the situation. I might sound like I'm siding on the side of whatever administration decided to do this. It was a stupid decision, but I do hope that something good will come of it, or it will be reversed and we won't have the problem to begin with. But let this, no matter what happens, you really need to be a little bit more pissed off about all the schools that are charging the extraordinary amounts of money for their degrees that you're going and taking online modules for, not the government telling them that they're charging too much. Thanks so much. Go out there and earn it today.